Hi, and welcome to Math 318, Advanced Linear Algebra Tools and Applications. I am your instructor, Dr. Robert Wan. Here's my email address. And the course also has a TA who actually helped develop this course. That's Sam Rovin. His email address is here. Okay, so the purpose of this video is just to go over the course syllabus and some of the guidelines for the course. You could, of course, read this all on your own, but it might be more convenient to watch a video. So I've decided that lectures will be pre-recorded, online, and asynchronous. This is just because I think it's good for lectures to be recorded anyway. And I found that if you record live lectures, then the attendance starts to drop off as people just watch the recording. Also try to accommodate folks in different time zones. That said, you're also all enrolled in a quiz section, and those quiz sections do meet synchronously with your TA. Sam and I will also both have Zoom office hours at various times throughout the week. Once I figure out exactly what they are, I'll put links and times down here. You can just click the Zoom link to get there. Just a note that quiz sections and office hours will not be recorded, so you really want to go to those live. Okay, so the main hub for the course will be on Canvas. I'm currently on the course Canvas site. Basically, everything that you need for the course is either on Canvas or is linked from Canvas. So first, lectures, I'll upload them to Panopto, so you can click here to watch them on Panopto. You could also watch on YouTube if you prefer. So I've created a YouTube playlist here. And if you subscribe on YouTube, then I'll post the lectures one day before, the evening before the scheduled lecture. So your first lecture, I'll post on Sunday evening, the evening before the first day of classes, which is Monday. Okay, that's where the lectures are. All your assignments will be submitted and graded on Gradescope. The way to get to Gradescope is to click this link on the Canvas tab. I've set up the course Gradescope here. Office hours, as I said, will be connected on Zoom. I'll send announcements via email sometimes and also put them in the announcements tab on Canvas. If there's a question you have that isn't a private question, then I want you to post it on Piazza. This is the class Piazza, which you can click from here or from the left-hand tab. Because if you post to Piazza, then you can have discussion about it. Your other classmates might be able to answer it. The TA will also be on Piazza. So you'll have sort of a lot more chances at getting help quickly if you post to Piazza, and also other people might have your same question, right? Okay, right. So the textbook for this course is a recommended textbook. It's Introduction to Linear Algebra by Gilbert Strang. It's a very good textbook. And it's always good to have a textbook because by nature, lectures are fit into a block of time, right? A lecture is 50 minutes. And that means that I won't always be able to go into as much detail or do as many examples as I would like to. But the book can cover things in much more detail, much more rigorously, and with many more examples. The actual lectures will follow a set of course notes that were developed by your TA, Sam, and Professor Rekha Thomas. I've put those notes in the Files section of Canvas under Lecture Notes. And like I said, these were developed by Sam and Professor Thomas, and this is basically just their notes from the winter quarter, and that course was very successful, and I figure why fix what ain't broken. We'll be going through these lecture notes at roughly the pace that Professor Thomas did last quarter. Yeah, so back to the syllabus. Also at the bottom here, I've given a rough plan for the quarter, what topics I plan to cover in which week, and also roughly what section of Strang would be the corresponding section. There's some stuff that we cover that is not in Strang, so there's no Strang reference here. But this is a tentative plan for the course. Right, so what is the whole point of the course? Well, the whole point of the course can be found in the title. It's an advanced linear algebra course focusing on tools and applications. So it's an advanced linear algebra course because you all were required to take and get a 3.0 in Math 308, which is the standard undergraduate linear algebra course. And the first time you learn linear algebra, the emphasis is basically on solving systems of linear equations. That's in broad strokes the way that you view Math 308. On the other hand, linear algebra is an extremely applied and extremely useful tool in the real world. So in this course, we'll focus on viewing matrices as operators and as ways to organize data, and we'll focus on structure, geometry, and applications. So the goal here is to cover some of the applications of linear algebra, but have a really good understanding of the structure and the geometry. it will be very, very fun, in my opinion. Okay, so I've included a little motivational quote here from the Spectra preface to the Spectra Graphs by Brouwer and Hammers. The founders of Google computed the Perron-Frobenius eigenvector of the web graph and became billionaires. So by the end of this course, we should be able to understand this sentence. And in fact, even in week 2, we'll cover Google PageRank and see that Google PageRank is basically just linear algebra. So if you needed any more convincing that linear algebra is useful, I can't think of a more compelling argument than that. That said, again, this course is called Advanced Linear Algebra. The course builds upon all the stuff that's covered in Math 308, which means that if you don't have a very strong grasp of the material in Math 308, then you'll have a difficult time in this course. So there's a link here to the self-diagnostic test provided by the department. If you click, it's here. And you should do this self-diagnostic test and get a realistic idea of how is my strength in Math 308. Okay, this course used to be called 318. Sorry, it used to be called 380, but now it's called 318. If you struggle with this diagnostic test, then it's possible that your background in 308 is not strong enough and this is not the right course for you. Okay, so I just want to be upfront about it. It's pretty miserable if you are falling behind in a course and you don't know what's going on, and I don't want that to happen to you. Okay, so now some of the more boilerplate procedural stuff. You will have weekly problem sets, which will be submitted on Gradescope. Those are due at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Fridays, and I will post them to Canvas roughly 1 week before they're due. Okay, in fact, the first one is actually already posted on Canvas, and it's due the first Friday of classes. It's under problem sets. Problem set 1 is already posted. It's due Friday, April 2nd at 11:59 p.m. on Gradescope. Okay. Back to the syllabus. The problem sets are really the core of the class. This is actually true in pretty much all math classes. The only way to learn something is by solving problems. And therefore, the problem sets are the core of the class. They are also challenging problems. You should expect to spend a considerable amount of time thinking about the problems, solving the problems, and writing them up. Additionally, your solutions will be held to a very high standard. Okay, so I'm going to go into this at the end of the video when I go to a problem set guidelines document that's also posted to Canvas. But we have a lot of graders for this class. Each grader grades, like every problem will be graded very carefully by the grader. Also, because this is a remote COVID quarter, your course grade is entirely based on your score on problem sets. So there's 10 problem sets, 1 per week. Each one will have 5 problems. Each of those problems is worth 10 points, so each problem set is worth 50 points. At the end of the quarter, the lowest problem set will be dropped. So there are 450 possible problem set points, and that will determine your grade in the course. Okay, of course, life does happen. So if you miss a problem set due to unavoidable, compelling, and well-documented extenuating circumstances, then I will assess the situation, and I'll assess this situation based on the circumstances that I see, okay? So you shouldn't hesitate to reach out, but like it's your responsibility to turn in complete problem sets. It's not my responsibility. Okay, during these COVID quarters, we're also required to have a 2.0 policy, which is the following. If after we drop the lowest problem set score, you've completed all 9 of the problem sets, and you've earned at least 280 points, then I guarantee that you won't receive a grade lower than a 2.0. I don't know what the final scale will be, but I can guarantee that 280 points will guarantee you nothing lower than a 2.0. On the flip side, if you want to receive a grade of 3.8 or higher, you have to have completed at least 8 of the STAR problems during the course. And I'll talk more about STAR problems when I talk about the problem set guidelines. Okay, so some more stuff that I'm required to have on the syllabus. If you have a learning disability, then you should contact the DRS office to make accommodations. There's no exams in the course, it's just problem sets. Also, if you have some religious accommodation, so if you have an absence or a hardship due to reasons of faith, then there's a form that you fill out at the registrar, and I'll accommodate that. Okay, so the last bit of the syllabus is some more some more advice and some more policy stuff. So first of all, like I said, this course will be really fun if you stay on top of things. You're going to learn a lot of really cool applications, things that are actually used in the real world. On the other hand, if you don't understand what's happening, if you fall behind, then it can be really quite miserable. Okay, so first of all, you should only be taking this class if you really want to learn and you're really willing to put in the time. That said, you have a lot of resources available to you so that if you're willing to put in the time and willing to work hard, you have a lot of resources to support you. Okay, so first, I hope you'll always look to me as your first option for help. So you never need to make an appointment to come to the scheduled office hours. You just drop by. If there's a private matter that you want to discuss with me, send me an email. And of course, if it's not a private thing, post to Piazza. I plan to check the Piazza quite regularly throughout the quarter. Your TA, Sam, as well, has quiz sections where you can talk to him, and will also be checking the Piazza boards. As far as forming study groups with one another, I encourage you to do that because if you have to explain something to somebody else, you can learn it a lot better. You can bounce ideas off of one another. Generally, if you use study groups correctly, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot more than trying to go it on your own. Okay, but big caveat here. The grade that you receive on an assignment needs to represent your understanding of the material and not somebody else's. Okay, so for assignments, that means for problem sets, we're going to follow the so-called well-known Gilligan's Island rules. Okay, so here's what these rules are. You may meet to discuss problems with one another or with me or with the TA, but if you meet to discuss a problem, you cannot take away any written or electronic record of what you talked about. So you can't be writing as you're talking. Or, okay, you can write while you're talking, but you can't take away any record of it, right? So if you had like a shared blackboard, you could write on that blackboard as you're talking, but you'd have to erase it at the end. The point of this is that everything you learn has to actually be inside of your head. The whole point is try to understand and learn these things, right? After you've had this help, you have to wait at least 30 minutes before writing anything down. So they're called the Gilligan's Island rules because you could watch an episode of Gilligan's Island in between when you've met with your group and when you write something down. This is to guarantee that you're not just copying something that somebody else said, that it got into your brain, that you learned it, and then you are now writing down stuff that you understand onto your paper. Okay, and I just ask if you collaborated with any of your classmates, or if you got my help or you got your TA's help, just at the start of the problem, say, on this problem, I worked with so-and-so. Okay, the point of the Gilligan's Island rules are if you follow them, then there should not be any substantial textual overlap with anybody else's assignment. Because you both talked about it, then went your separate ways, you waited 30 minutes, and then you wrote down what was in your head. So there should not be a substantial textual overlap. If there is a substantial textual overlap between you and another student, basically it means that you didn't follow these rules and perhaps one of you copied off of the other, in which case that's considered academic dishonesty and will be treated as such. Okay, so I want you to be able to get help. I just want to lay down really clearly what I mean by getting help, which is you can talk to whoever you want, but the ideas have to be in your head. You gotta wait for 30 minutes, and then you write down what you now understand. Okay. Now, while I'm talking about policies anyway, let's go to the problem set guidelines, which are also in the Files tab. Under the problem sets, here are the problem set guidelines. Okay, problem sets are such an important part of this course, which means that I want to be really clear with my expectations and with my policies on problem sets. Okay? So first of all, they're due at 11:59 on Fridays, 11:59 p.m., and it's your responsibility to submit your solutions on time. Okay, so I know that technical issues happen, so I recommend that you start the upload process by like 11 p.m. and give yourself every chance to turn them in on time. Okay, if I get an email at 12:30 in the morning saying, will you accept this homework late? My answer will be no. Okay, I just want to let you know that right now. Because there's over 100 of you, technical issues happen, and I'm not going to deal with every single Saturday morning responding to 10 emails about late homeworks. It's your responsibility to turn in your homeworks on time. Not only that, everything you turn in has to be legible and clear. This means that your solution should be written neatly, it should be scanned clearly, and the pages have to be correctly selected on Gradescope. Okay, again, there's a lot of you, and the graders are grading a lot of solutions. If your grader can't read your answer, or your answer is blurry, or you haven't selected the page in Gradescope, then that makes the grader's life more difficult. That means that you haven't successfully submitted your solution to that problem. Okay, so anything that makes your solution difficult to read is a liability. Okay, also all of the answers that you present should be presented as clearly as possible. Here's a good rule of thumb. Any other student in your class should be able to pick up your problem set, read your answer, and understand it completely. This means there should be like no like ambiguous symbols or ambiguous arrows about what's going on. This means that you write your solution in full English sentences so that another human being can read it and understand. Okay, a big technical point in this class is that we are assuming all the theorems covered in Math 308. So you can use theorems that are proved in Math 308, and the resource that I'm going to use for this is under Math 308 notes in the file section. I have my notes from when I taught Math 308 last autumn. Okay, so if there's a theorem from Math 308 that you want to use, it has to be a theorem that was proved in these notes. So, right, I mean, there's lots of stuff, right? Let T be a linear transformation, then T is 1, 1, if and only if Tx equals 0 has only the trivial solution x equals 0. You can use this result, but you need to be clear about where you're getting it from. It's theorem 80 from Math 308. If you're ever not sure, then you should ask on Piazza, and me, myself, or the TA will be able to answer whether or not that's an okay thing to assume. Okay, now for grading. Each problem set, like I said, contains 5 problems. One of the problems is more challenging. It's indicated with a star or a double star. The double star problems are above average in length. Okay, and each problem is worth 10 points. So each of the non-star problems will be graded for correctness. All parts of the problem will be graded, so it's 10 points for each of the 4 non-star problems. Your TA will grade the star problem for completeness, where completeness means that you've really given an honest attempt to every part of the problem. Okay, so completeness doesn't just mean you wrote something down for that part of the problem. It needs to be like a legitimate attempt at a solution. It can have an error in it, but it needs to be an honest attempt. And so the star problem will be graded by your TA. That's for a total of 50 points. As I said, at the end of the quarter, your lowest problem set score is dropped. Okay, important late homework and regrades. Okay, as I said before, I will not accept late homework. That is my policy, and I'm going to stick to it, because if I don't stick to it, it's not fair to the... Right? If I say that I'm going to do it and then I make an exception, then other students might not submit because they're like, oh, he said there's no late homework accepted. So don't ask me if I'll accept late homework. However, if there is a compelling, unexpected, and well-documented extenuating circumstance, life happens, let me know what's going on, and I'll do my best to assess and accommodate the situation. Okay, so this isn't I forgot to upload at 11:59 p.m. But there are legitimate circumstances. I understand that life happens, especially during the current global pandemic. If something comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll do my best to assess it. But I want to be really clear about my expectations. Okay, in the case of religious holidays or participation in university-sponsored activities that would like interfere with your homework upload schedule, then you need to notify me at least 1 week in advance. These things should not be emergencies, right? Because you should know about them beforehand. And about regrades, I'm only going to consider a regrade if there is an error in the grading. Okay, the graders are human. The graders make mistakes sometimes. So if there's an error, then send me an email clearly describing which assignment, what problem, and what error you think the grader made. Okay, if the grader made an error, I am more than happy to correct it. But if you have a request that's basically, I don't think that this error is worth 5 points, then I'm basically not even going to respond to you, because the grading will be supervised by your TA, who knows a lot about teaching this class and a lot about the material in this class. I trust your TA, and I will also be checking in on the grading. If you disagree with the grading, I'm just not going to respond. Okay? Here's a rehash of the Gilligan's Island rules. I realize that this video is kind of like it feels a little draconian, but like I said, I want to be really clear with my expectations. The course will be very fun, but you have to lay out your expectations clearly at the beginning of the quarter so that we are all on the same page about what this course is. Okay, I'm really looking forward to the quarter. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff. And your first lecture will be posted the Sunday evening before the first day of classes.